And we're live.
And we're live.
Hello. Hello, friends.
Guys, I finally made it.
Amanda's here.
And I read the book.
And she read
I feel like I need a gold star.
That's right. Absolutely. Hello. We're glad to see you guys here today. Katie will be joining in a few minutes. She's just wrapping up some stuff. She will be joining in. She also finished the book. Like last minute.
Yeah, like an hour and a half ago. It's fine.
It's not like we haven't done that before. I think Katie and I have both done that. You have, like, we've all done that.
We've all done that.
Middle grade March books. Yeah. So hello, everyone. Tell us where you're coming from. I mean, I recognize all of you who are here. Hi, PJ and Jill and Kat and Jen and Anne and Kim and Teresa and Stephanie. Welcome. We're glad you're here to talk about Simon Sort of Says.
Simon Sort of Says.
We're very excited. But before we get into that, and just to give Katie a couple minutes to come, tell us like what you're reading right now and or a middle grade that you've read recently that you've really liked besides this one, whether or not you liked it. We'll talk about that one in a minute. But
yeah. I am in the middle of reading Bletchley Riddle, the new Ruta Sepetys, Steve Sheinkin book, and I'm really enjoying it. I got a copy of it on NetGalley, so it's slow going because it's my like fall asleep at night book. Because I read on my Kindle at night as I'm falling asleep, and so I normally read like a page and a half at a time. So it's very slow, but I'm really liking it.
Nice. I am reading a gazillion things right now. I'm in one of those phases where I have too many things going at the same time.
I feel that.
But a lot of them are nonfiction, and I don't mind reading nonfiction like that because I feel like it's better for my brain. So some of the ones that I'm reading and loving are The Small and the Mighty. This is just the cover.
Oh, yeah.
The Sharon McMahon book. I'm really enjoying that. And if you guys follow my channel, you know I've talked about these books so many times, but Tolstoy and the Purple Chair is about this woman who's grieving the loss of her sister and decides she's going to read a book every day for a year as her way to kind of escape back to life, like to like allow herself time to process, but like come back to life. And then also a book about finding light in dark days, Wild Hope. This is poetry. So it's a poetry book, a history book, and a grief book. But then I'm also reading on my Kindle. I got myself a new Kindle cover. And I put stickers all over it.
Cute.
It's funny because it really matches my reading journal.
Oh, that's cute.
And stickers. But so yeah, I'm reading The Briar Club. Slow going because I don't often pick this up, but I read a couple pages while I'm feeding the baby.
Yeah, I just finished yesterday, the day before. I finished Our Women in Moscow.
Nice.
Our Woman in Moscow. Oh man,
that's Beatrice Williams.
Yeah. This book, and I read it for Historathon, and I really liked it. It's very like Cold War, people defecting to Russia, then trying to get them out of Russia, and it's about two twin sisters, and it is lovely. Nice. I love
Very
it.
Cool. I have that one on my shelves.
It's a little spicy.
Is it? Oh,
I'm expecting it. I mean, it's not bad, but
yeah,
a little bit.
Teresa's only 50% done with Simon. That's okay. Kim's reading Ramona and Her Mother. Currently reading Anne of Windy Poplars. Love. The third.
I want to read that. I actually this is my mug today. I don't know if you can see it. It's Stars Hollow, and it has all the different. Here, let me turn this off. You can see it. There we go. So it has like the Dragonfly Inn and all the Stars Hollow things. Guys, I found this at TJ Maxx.
Nice.
Like $4. It's huge. That's anyway, amazing. I'm on a Gilmore Girls kick right now. I've been listening to a Gilmore Girls podcast.
Love it.
So anyway, I really want to read Kelly Bishop's book.
Reading Northern California. Reading Downstairs Girl. Nice. Stacey Lee, I think, wrote that. Starting the War I Finally Won. Yay. Good, Stephanie. I'm glad you're reading that. Reading Neck Alley books for the rest of this week, so no middle grade for right now. Jen is reading Can't Spell Treason Without T and listening to Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake. Nice. It's such a good duology. I'm enjoying Briar Club. I am only about 30% in, so I don't really know too much more about it, but reading How to Be Perfect by Michael Schur for nonfiction Remember, I said. Moral ethics from the creator of the TV show The Good Place. Ooh, interesting. I love rom-coms and I'm a feminist. I love rom-coms. Finished it, 5 stars. We're going to get right into that in just a second, PJ. Perfect. I'm so glad that you loved it. Jealous of your mug. Katie, hi. Also, I recently finished Monstrous Devices by Damien Love, a sci-fi adventure mystery about a grandfather and grandson against evil robots. Amazing. Cute mug, Amanda. Read some good middle grade in October. Garlic and the Vampire and the Skull and Caroline, the graphic novel. Wonderful. All right. Perfect timing because I feel like you've told us what y'all are reading. I'm going to exit out of Discord so it doesn't keep dinging like that.
Right. Teresa, I'm curious what you thought of The Skull. I picked that up at almost every single bookstore that we went to in Kansas City. It is so visually appealing to me, but I don't know if the story's any good. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, so I would love to hear your opinions about it.
The middle grade, The Skull? Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is.
It's more like a picture book, isn't it?
It's not a middle, I don't know if it's a middle grade. It's like a longer picture book.
It's a longer picture book. I read it to my kids in the car one day.
Interesting.
It got so, I liked it, but I wouldn't say it was, my expectations were really high because people were really pumping it up. And I expected a little more from it, quite honestly.
Katie, your shelves look so nice. You never came back and gave us a final product. I need to have a tour of them.
I know. I need to give a tour of them.
They look really lovely.
They do.
No, I love them very much.
Very cool. It's a mixture of picture book and regular, and she loved it.
I loved it. Your husband didn't.
Jill said just okay.
Just okay.
And Gloria read it and said she liked it just okay too. Gloria Thompson. All right, cool. Well, we're here to talk about Simon.
Yeah.
Very fresh on Katie and Amanda's minds. Not so fresh on my mind because it was a couple weeks ago, but feel free to share in the comments what you thought of it, and we will kind of go around and give general thoughts too. Katie, you want to start since you finished it the most recently? Have you even had time to process?
I finished it 3 hours ago. I loved it.
To be fair, she found out that we were meeting yesterday. So she read it.
I thought we were meeting at the end of the month. I don't know why that was in my head, but I thought we were meeting at the end of the month. No, middle of the month. So yesterday I was like, we should post on Instagram. Chris was like, we're meeting tomorrow. I loved it. It reminded me a little bit of a Gary Schmidt book.
Okay.
I love Gary Schmidt. I maybe didn't like it as much as I like Gary Schmidt books, but I still liked it a lot. Probably my favorite book that we've read well, no, I can't say that. We've chosen some really good books for book club this year.
Mine is Castle of Tangled Magic. I didn't care for that one.
Yeah, I didn't care for that one either. But the other one,
I like everything else in the universe. That's one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
So,
Amanda, what do you think?
I thought it was good. I didn't connect to it in the way that I've connected to other similar books. Specifically, I'm thinking of Jasmine Warga's Shape of Thunder. I felt way more connected to that book than I did this book, but this one had some very emotional passages, scenes, whatever. And I could, as a parent reading this, it was very difficult. So, I would agree with Kat though. I felt like it was a little bit too long. There were a lot of different side things that I'm like, I don't really understand. I'm like, I'm sure there's a reason why this is in here, but I didn't really get it. Like the whole squirrel situation, I was like, why is this relevant? Like, I don't know. So there were some side things that I'm like, I don't really get why this is in here. But overall, I really, really enjoyed it. So I'd probably give it like a 4 would be my.
Yeah, I think I gave it a 4.5, just rounded it up to 5 on Goodreads. Anytime a book can make me cry, and it definitely did. I just found the friendship between Agate and Simon so sweet, and so pure and wholesome, and like just lovely. It was really, really sweet. Because it was truly middle grade. Like there was absolutely zero like
romantic
crush kind of feelings. Like she's cute or he's cute or what. It was not that at all. It was just.
I love the way that his dad was like, they're friends, but not in the kissy book kind of way.
Which reminds me, like that to me, whenever I hear that phrase, it always reminds me of Princess Bride.
That's funny.
Same. Yeah. It was making me laugh so hard, but I'm like, yes, I loved Agate and Simon's relationship.
Yeah,
me too. Yeah,
I loved seeing his PTSD on page and how it affected the family as a whole. Like it was his trauma, and that whole conversation came up a couple times. But like,
I love that
we're also traumatized.
And how him and his dad were kind of fighting about it. And he was like, no, this happened to me. And his dad's like, no, this happened to us.
Yeah.
And he's like, but no, it happened to me. And they like went back and forth. And then, at the end when he's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
This did happen to us. Yeah. Like I was not the only one traumatized that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely, pulled at all my emotional heartstrings. I can totally see a few things that could get cut out. But there was enough like quirky kind of
silliness.
Like even the whole idea that there's this town that's a quiet zone, like that has 0 electromagnetic waves. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Even a thing? Like, is there a place where that is
possible? There were so many like laugh out loud moments in this book too.
There were.
To me, the humor in this book were so like when the body goes missing.
Yes.
I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? Yeah. And then when they're like doing the goat birthing and his friends like, take me with you. Please take me with you, And here, hold on. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I also thought that the emus getting loose was just so funny. And like how many people had to come and try to get the emus back into the barn.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that whole thing was hilarious.
Yeah. I feel like that might be a good segue to one of the questions that I was thinking about, which is humor and trauma, like how the book tackles serious themes with humor. And what do we think of that choice by the author, and how did it affect your reading experience? Did you like that she made this, that she added so much humor to such a serious topic, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in a middle grade especially, you need it.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise it's going to be because the kids that read this, if it was all depressing and like not depressing, but super serious, it's not going to attract the same kids.
Yeah.
Or no. It's not going to attract as many kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for something that feels so, especially, I mean, I read some really traumatic books when I was a kid that were really heavy and there wasn't a lot of humor. Like I'm thinking of like Island of the Blue Dolphins, a very serious book, but there's something about this topic, I think, that touches a nerve for a lot of kids and just for a lot of people in general. So kids and parents. So I think that talking about it tackling it with a lot of humor is a way to discuss it and to like enter into that trauma without feeling like it's touching a really raw nerve, maybe.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all. I think mostly because when they were specifically addressing the PTSD and the school shooting and the stuff, none of that was humorous.
Right.
That was all very serious.
Yeah.
And very like, whatever.
Yeah.
The humor was everything not related to that specific situation.
Although not entirely, because there's the shirt that she made for him, that Agate made for him at the end of the book.
Yeah, but I feel like that was showing like a healing aspect of where he.
I agree. I agree. But it was also funny.
Yes, it was. Yeah. But I think
the parents were like, "How's he going to respond? How's he going to respond?"
I know.
Like,
right? You never know.
Like, do we take this right away? What do we do? Yeah.
I think if she would have approached the entire thing with humor, it would have been in poor taste.
Oh, I agree.
Right? Yeah. But I think that because it's such a serious and very anxiety-inducing topic, that the humor helps alleviate a little bit of that and helps make it a little bit more accessible in a way that you're like, okay, this is the conversation I can have.
Yeah.
And it's not as, I don't want to say as scary because it's still scary. Let's be real. But it's not as, I don't know what word I'm looking for. I can't English today.
Yeah, so there's people, I love the mix because sometimes that's just how we deal with things.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people deal with the hardest things in their life with humor.
Some things were irrelevant, maybe. Love the humor. If my brain was a microwave, I would always smell like scorched popcorn.
My kitchen smells like scorched popcorn 5 out of 7 days a week.
Oh,
and it drives my husband nuts. He walks in from work. He's like, who burnt the popcorn again? Like, nobody can figure it out. It's funny.
It could be puppies, friendship, and...
I loved Herc. Oh, my goodness. I loved Herc so much.
Oh, my gosh. I loved Hercules so much.
But
I also loved the Agate's family's dog that would like open up the refrigerator to get a beer for itself.
Todd? Wasn't his name like Todd or something?
Todd, yes,
because it was like everybody had rock names and then their dog's name was Todd.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh, man.
And the mom likes Pop-Tarts because she considers it pre-embalming and saves her work.
Oh, I thought that cracked me up too.
Well, my kids will be very well preserved then.
Oh my gosh.
They eat their body weight in Pop-Tarts.
I was curious about how people viewed the religion aspect of the book because the dad was very involved in church, was like the deacon, or I forget what they called him. And as I was looking at a bunch of reviews today, just to kind of refresh my memory, a lot of people took issue with either things not lining up biblically or just that it was so unnecessary. I mean, you kind of mentioned the squirrel thing earlier.
Yeah, but I feel like the religion aspect, in a way, as an adult, I appreciated it because, and I think even for kids too, because in church, oftentimes we hear like, God is in control of everything and he allowed, like whatever, everything happens for a reason. And, like this dialogue. And so for his dad to be very close to that and also be close to this very traumatic situation and having to wrestle with that. Yeah. I could really relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I could appreciate how hard that was for his dad to take on.
Yeah. Did you have thoughts about that, Krista?
No, I mean, I didn't think, I did feel like it took a lot of the story and I didn't know that I didn't think it was all necessary. Like the whole squirrel thing, there was a fire at one point. I got lost in those parts when I was listening to the audiobook, and I'm like, what does this even have to do? Like I'd come back and I'd be like, wait a minute, what are we even talking about right now? So I feel like
I didn't really understand
so funny. Lot. I feel like maybe because I had to read it so fast, those things didn't bother me at all. I just thought they were funny little, like,
But it's interesting because while I thought that was unnecessary, I felt like all the stuff with his mom and what was the name of
the guy, like her funeral, the young
kid, and then the name of it was something horrific. I can't remember what it was now. Anyway, like I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
So like I didn't want any of that part to get cut out, but at the same time, like the part with her dad I felt like was just too much. I'm trying to remember. Somebody put what the name of the...
No, they mentioned the funeral home, but I don't think they said the name of it.
Oh, no, they did, because they couldn't rename it because that's what it had always been known as.
Yeah, Slaughter
or something like that.
Funeral home or something.
Slaughter Funeral Home. I think that was it.
Slaughter and Sons or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, her dark humor was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I thought that it was clever that not only the town and all the similar towns that she mentioned, but also like every place in the town had a very, like, a play on words. Like even the grocery store, the name of the grocery store was a play on words. I thought that was just a funny sort of element of the book.
Katie said locking Pretty Stabby in the car was my favorite.
Pretty stabby. The
peacock.
The peacock.
And the emu roundup, that cracked me up.
Yeah, the emu.
And they're like, lay on the ground and bicycle your feet. The whole thing was so funny. And I had such a visual of that too, right? Like, I feel like this would be a fantastic movie. Well, like, it'd be a very hard movie to watch.
It was a very visual book.
It was a very, like, the whole with him jumping out of the treehouse and the whole, you know, like, I feel like this, it was a very cinematic book.
Mm-hmm.
Even the flashbacks and stuff. While I would not want to see that, I could see it.
Yeah, I agree, Katie. It was kind of interesting that both of his parents, their occupations.
Yeah, I was thinking about that a lot too as I read the book.
Had to go through. Yeah.
Very intentional choices, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting note, Jen. I'm going back to a comment I starred from earlier. Talking about Agate, and describing her as fat. I don't think it bothered me because I just think it was nice that she didn't look like everybody else. She had the crazy red puffy hair and
she was just her, unapologetically her, and screw everyone else.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I loved her so much.
I did too.
I loved how she was like, all right, you had this thing, cool. What now? Like, but she also, like, went home and looked it up and was prepared for, like, this is your PTSD talking, and we need to get you inside. Like when he had the panic attack when he was during the tornado, and she was like, you're having a panic attack. And you could tell that she was prepared to support him when he did have things come up.
Which is so, like, because it just says that she has autistic spectrum disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly on the higher end of things, but still, like, just takes things very literal, has a plan, like that all tracks. Like, that's what she would have done. Like, that's how she processes the world.
Did you guys read the author's note?
I don't remember if it was on the video.
So it sounds like the author she has 2 children, and one of her kids is autistic. And then she also had some readers who read the book. to help with to make sure that she portrayed
Sensitivity readers.
to make sure that she portrayed autism and also PTSD, the trauma that Simon was going through.
Oh man, that tornado scene, I was like,
oh yeah.
The just the bells and seeing him like descend into, because at that point
and then he was trapped in the room with only one door, and like
at that
all
point we didn't know fully his story. Like for more than half the book, we knew he had experienced some kind of trauma, and that was why they had moved away. Like we knew that, but we didn't know what that was. Mm-hmm. And it she just kind of slowly revealed, like he would eat lunch out by like on the side hallway where there was more than one exit, and he like these little things that showed how his brain was kind of handling everything. Yeah. And then that scene with the tornado was the first time that I got like, oh, this poor boy. I just wanted to help him out. But I liked how it was kind of revealed slowly. Like we didn't learn right at the beginning what had happened, but we kind of learn along with Kevin and Agate and everybody else. And it made me so mad at reporters like, when they immediately show up and want to talk to this kid, because it's pretty remarkable that he did survive. Mm-hmm. And then I'm just putting, like, can you even imagine, number one, having to deal with a school shooting in any form is horrible, but to like have been trapped at the bottom of the pile, ultimately have to play dead to be like, I can't even imagine the trauma that would
and then you never escape that.
The survivor guilt. Oh my word.
Yeah, the amount of trauma that he has to deal with. And the one thing that I will say is it shocked me that he wasn't actively getting therapy.
Yeah.
And I know that maybe that would be like a hard thing to like make part of the book.
Yeah.
But that level of trauma would be so debilitating. I just can't imagine that there wouldn't be. And also that he was struggling to the point where he had, social anxiety and like having trouble being in physical spaces that only had one door, like that kind of like debilitating trauma where he wouldn't be working that out in some kind of therapy. I wouldn't say I struggled with that while I was reading the book, but I did wonder. I was like, this kid really needs more help than he's getting, especially because he's choosing not to talk about it with anyone.
Right.
Which, when you have PTSD, it's not like I'm a PTSD expert, but I have heard people talk about it. And like one of the best ways to deal with it is to talk about the trauma. Like shutting it down and stuffing it inside is not going to help you work through it. So he wasn't talking about it with his friends. He wasn't talking about it with his parents. It didn't look like.
I think maybe
did they say that, Katie? Here's the thing. I read the book so fast, and there's probably a few things that I missed. So maybe that was mentioned, but I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
And if he was seeing a therapist up until the move, but not after the move, why did he stop seeing? Like, he still needs therapy. Yeah. He still needs it.
Yeah. I forgot that Agate had a lot of fun shirts. Her response to being called fat was just to have a shirt that had, and that didn't her siblings make shirts? That was one of
the emo twins.
The emo twins made a lot of shirts, so it was perfect that she made a shirt for Simon too. Yeah, she had some great shirts, and I agree with this to a degree. It didn't bother me in this book at all, but I get your point because it has bothered me in other books, not necessarily about them being fat, but like in what's that book I hate by Sally Thorne, The Hating Game. Every single time the girl was talked about, it was talked about how petite and tiny she was. And the same thing in The Love Song of Benny Lament by Amy Harmon. Every single time the girl was talked about, it was said how tiny she was. And so those bothered me, but it's the opposite. Maybe because I am a bigger girl that I'm like, that doesn't bother me. Maybe it's the opposite. Yeah, he did still need the the therapy.
Yeah.
I realized that she was Canadian.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think she is American, but she lives in Canada now. She grew up in Iowa, I'm pretty sure. Born and raised in Iowa.
Gotcha.
Was raised in Nebraska. Born in Iowa, raised in Nebraska, now lives in Ontario.
Yeah.
Kevin's mom let the cat out of the bag.
Kevin's mom.
Well-meaning.
Kevin's mom.
I mean, I feel like she was well-meaning, but like just really ignorant.
Yeah.
She wanted to be seen as the good, like, look at all the good that I'm doing.
Right. Without like talking to him or his parents.
Or his
Just
parents.
making the decision for like this is
Right.
what's best for him. So this is what I'm gonna do to help without involving him or his parents.
Yeah. That scene didn't bother me, but like, because he was out there for a long time. Is that the scene where then he just left?
That's such a good point.
Off, and he got home and the dad was like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "I was in school for ages. They knew I was there. Like, why did they?" And then he went missing. But I mean, the dad I think his family unit was so fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, why did the school say he was missing? He was there right up until he like basically went home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but he ran.
Yeah.
Because it said like the whole thing happened or whatever, and then he bolted. And so they probably were just like, hey, dude, he took off. We don't know where he went. Because I read that as it happened like at the beginning of the school day.
Yeah, that's I read it too. Yeah, this cat, that's such a good point.
I love when Kevin's like, if you want me to have choices, then sometimes you're not going to like those choices.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, mic drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she should have gone to the parents first, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the author's note. I'm going to have to read the author's note.
Yeah, the author's note wasn't part of the audio.
Look. It's a long author's note. She had a lot to say.
I have to read it when we get done.
This isn't I don't know if you guys, I always pay attention in books to similes and metaphors, and she had some really good ones, and my very favorite one was at the beginning of the book. I just thought it was so good. It's when Simon is talking about what happened in their old parish or their old church building. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about the owl. And he said on her face, she has that look that owls always have, like she's bored, but barely suppressing suspicion and rage, which is exactly how owls look.
Oh, that's so true. So true.
Bored, but barely suppressing suspicion and rage. Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, the town is called Grin and Bear It. I forgot that.
Yeah, Grin and Bear It.
She did a lot with wordplay, like just creative.
Very.
Some of the other things I saw in the reviews, because I love to read the super low reviews. People had a hard time thinking that this would be a good book for kids to read. So it's always something we talk about when we read books. Like, is this an appropriate middle grade book, or would you say it's a little older, like upper end or adults, or like, because they were saying some of the like the disgusting things, like agate. One of their like
a duck's penis is so long or whatever.
Why did that always have to be about body parts? And I'm like, but that's 5th grade.
That's how they think. I'm thinking like a 12-year-old. Like I would totally hand this book to a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, this is they're in 7th grade, right? I mean, this is come on.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
They're not talking about human anatomy. They're talking about animals.
Yeah.
They know the names for the body parts.
Were they? So I'm curious. Was it that stuff, or did they think that like Did they think it was inappropriate, or did they think it wasn't like interesting for kids? Like it wasn't written in a way that kids could enjoy?
Some of the things that we talked about, that it was too long. There's a couple like side things that just weren't necessary. A little too sciencey for some people with the whole sending a message.
Yeah, I kind of got lost in that too.
That it would be whatever.
I didn't entirely follow it, but here's the thing: even as a kid, if you don't follow it, you understand what they're trying to do, right?
Right.
Just so it doesn't matter. They don't need to really understand.
It's like reading oh my goodness, like The Martian or Project Hail Mary or Michael Crichton. Like you're not going to understand the science, but you can still enjoy the book.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there was one description of, was it Kevin's mom that said she had a Karen haircut? They didn't like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, stop it.
And using phrases like slaps, like this video slaps. I'm like, yeah, but that's
how they talk.
Although I will say, how do they know to talk like that if they don't have any?
Right.
Like they are living basically in a pre-internet town. How does that?
I feel like the no internet thing was very loose. Like. I know they didn't actually have internet, but I feel like the actual like execution of that and how a town would actually be if it didn't have internet and cell phones and all this stuff, like I don't know. I feel like
talks about this in the author's note. So towns like this really do exist. However, she took it a step further because so towns like this, they do have internet, they just don't have Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So it's any like
dial-up.
Yeah. So it would be dial-up. So towns like this do exist, but this town does not. This was a fictional town as a stand-in for towns that do exist. Yeah, none of that's okay. I can kind of get on board with the length issue, but here's what I'm going to say about that. Because if you look at middle grade books written, even like upper middle grade books written in the 80s and 90s and maybe even early 2000s, they're short. And I do think there's something to be said for shortening middle grade books, but I don't think it's a fair criticism of this particular book as compared to any other middle grade book written today.
They're all too long right now. This is average. This is average.
This is 300 pages. This is not long for a middle grade book these days.
No.
But I do think that in general, middle grade books should probably be shorter in general.
Yeah. PJ thinks her fourth graders would like this. They enjoy more challenging topics. And Jen says, absolutely appropriate. These kids have heard and done way worse. Also, kids are subjected to lockdown drills.
Yeah, they know about these situations.
Yeah.
100%.
And so to see it played out on the page, I think it's important to see. I mean, it's just like we talk about representation being important. Like this is a part of reality for, unfortunately, way too many kids these days. So I think it's good to have it. This is something we haven't talked about, how much animals play a part in the story, from the squirrel in the church to the dogs with Hercules, the emu, the crazy peacock, goats. And Kat absolutely loved the gross conversations between.
Oh, I thought it was great. I loved that was like
her intro question.
Like a thing for Agate. Like that's like something that
the grossest thing you know.
Grossest thing you know. I loved that. And I feel like that's a really perfect like 13-year-old kid.
Yeah. And I love that when she met Kevin for the first time, he was like, I don't know, what are you talking? Like he tried throwing sports facts at her. And then Simon's like, oh, here's one. And he's like, ew. Yeah, we mean gross.
That's funny. But like how fun for Kevin to have these friends now. I mean, he's grown up in this home that's very focused on academics and has to be in the science fair, the science side of things. We didn't even talk about that, like the science half of town and the farm half of town.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big part of the story, too.
Oh, yeah, the division.
But I loved how at one point Simon asks Kevin, like, how do you think about the farm farm life now because you come from this. I don't remember how he phrased it, but he was like wanting him to compare. And Kevin was like, well, technically this is biology, which is true.
It is true.
Yeah, kids do love animals in books. It's very popular middle grade.
Oh yeah.
And also, I love that Agate gave Simon Hercules as like you just need to take care of him because he's the runt. Practice, this could be your practice training dog, but really, like, she knew
what she was doing.
She knew he needed.
And then at the end, they're like, "I guess you're just gonna have to keep him." Oh, shucks.
Oh, I loved meeting the dad at the end.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Agate's dad.
Yeah. Big Viking.
I think Katie thinks Harry Potter changed the expectations of the length of middle grade books.
I agree. I think that was probably what did it.
Yeah, instant gratification of social media makes long books hard.
But I will say this. My 10-year-old is having to read a bunch this year in 5th grade for school. Mm-hmm. And her first book that she read was Front Desk. And she really enjoyed it. And then the next month, so she has to read one book per month. And the next month she read a graphic novel. She read Garlic and the Vampire. And she said, she's like, I liked Front Desk more because I spent more time with it. And so I got to know the characters better and I felt like I was more invested in it. Whereas Garlic and the Vampire, I sped right through it and it was done.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think there's something to be said about that as well.
Yeah.
That, when you do take the time, and it's just like us when we read long, like if you read a Brandon Sanderson or Robin Hobb or, like something really long and you take that time and invest in it, then those stories do tend to hold you and you hold them closer because you have spent so much time with them. So
the books I loved, I never wanted to end when I was a kid.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I don't remember this. Halo ice cream dish with the beans.
Halo.
Oh, that was a real thing. I didn't realize that was something that was real.
I don't know what that is.
The beans and sweet cream.
When they it's at the coffee at Kevin's dad's
coffee
shop.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Kevin was like, random much? Front Desk is so good. Halo.
I still need to read Front Desk.
Wait, you haven't read Front Desk?
I have not read Front Desk.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Oh, Katie, you would love it.
I know.
I
own it. I own it.
Story of our lives.
Right. Well,
I was trying to think of any other aspects of the book we didn't talk about. Did you have any other questions, Katie, that you thought of?
Okay. What role does the community or the town, this eccentric town and community, play in Simon and his parents' healing process?
I think it's so good that they're in a place without the internet, because until Kevin's mom, they had control over revealing or not revealing what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it gave them time to not have to, because they think about it every day, I'm sure, but it gave them time to not have to think about it with other people for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. So that's like not people in the town, but that just the general lack of internet and access to the world outside, other than newspapers, whatever. But yeah.
And like Katie said, it was a way for them to be able to go to the grocery store and not be faced with it and everybody looking at them like, oh, poor you, oh, that's that, or whispering about them behind their back, and having that 24/7 just constantly and just being able to live their lives
Yeah.
and do normal things and be normal people and not have that follow them, you know.
Yeah.
And kind of, I think, too, really discover who they are again.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and especially with his dad, with, you know, the church thing, and just kind of coming to terms with where he sits with some things, and really, you know, like he was interviewed by the church magazine and the church elders, and like really having to think through, like, where do I stand on some of this stuff? And yeah.
Yeah, they were able to have a day together, skip school, have a day together on the anniversary before everybody knew about it.
Yeah.
That was good. But then I just think, yeah, and Simon was able to make friends just for who he was, not because people pitied him or
felt sorry for him, or they wanted to be popular,
wanted to kind of be a part of the
clout
drama.
of being,
right. Yeah.
I'm so
So he was able to start making friends without all of that.
Yeah.
First. Bad enough being a new kid in town, right? Without having all that.
Right.
Sure.
His friends got to know him. Well, and I also think, like, it was even in his friendship with Agate. Agate knew that something had happened to him.
Right.
He knew that, like, he revealed that there was some trauma that he had gone through. But she didn't press him to know more than that. She just let him be. That was like for her, that was like the least interesting thing about him, really, you know? And I think that was probably one of a huge healing thing for him. And also it allowed him to, like, he was just able to be friends with her on, I don't know. She just took him at face value. And I just think that was something that was really important for him to be able to make a friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I loved their friendship so much.
Me too.
So sweet.
I loved, too, that their family bonded over Lego builds.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a puzzle, but it's like, it's written out, and sometimes you have to backtrack if you make a mistake. And then, like, at the end, too, he was like, well, you can come do puzzles or do Lego with me. And I thought that was such a, because every kid can relate to Lego.
Yeah.
Right? Every kid, whether they enjoy doing it or not, they can relate to it. And to see, like, hey, here's a way that you can spend time with your family that is not in front of a television screen. Who knew?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I'm trying to find it because just to go back to Simon and Agate's friendship, there were a couple moments that I really loved at the end where Pearl, so Agate's mom, comes up and, you know, she said, you know, you fell, and Agate says, we jumped. Mr. Bagshot came up from up the ladder all angry, and he triggered Simon's trauma, but Simon decided not to shelter in place this time, so he jumped. He's my best friend. And that's why she jumped after him.
Mm-hmm. Krista's gonna start crying.
I already am. I love it.
And then when they're talking to the dad, let me see if I can find it. When the dad is talking to Simon, and he says, you know, we might have to stop breeding Todd from, you know, because Herc jumped out after you. And Simon says, Herc's perfect. But Agate says he jumped out of the treehouse after you. So did she, I object. You know, so did, you know, Agate also jumped out. And her dad goes, and she would also make a terrible guide dog.
I do love, though, when he reflects on all the things that Herc did that he needed Herc to do that Herc wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like climb up on the pew at church or climb under the bed with him, or like, like Herc knew what Simon needed, even if Herc wasn't supposed to do it. He just did it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Like jump out of the
the kind
treehouse.
of guide dog that Simon really needed, even if he wasn't like the kind of guide dog that would make it far.
Yeah, under 100%.
Oh, Hercules, 100%. Yes.
Feeling.
Yeah.
Immediately tuned into who might know and recognizing the pity response to him. Yeah. Oh. Well, I know. Seriously. At the end of this book had me in tears.
Yeah.
Only a part of who you are, what you survived and might have shaped you, but it doesn't define you. Yeah. And I think that's like a good, like, that's what this book is about.
Yeah.
Like, he experienced this thing and he's going to deal with the PTSD of it for probably a while, especially if he's not getting therapy right now. But it's only a part of him. And now he's someone who created a message from the aliens and threw all the scientists off for an afternoon.
It's so funny. I don't know why in my head I thought that there was going to be more like, I thought there was going to actually be maybe like messages from aliens in here. Like when I don't know why. When I read the description of the book.
Like a little bit sci-fi thrown in there.
Yeah.
More like Shape of Thunder was.
Yeah.
Shape of Thunder was more like that.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's one other one that I still haven't read and I need to read. I know.
Yeah. It's very good.
I liked Shape of Thunder quite a bit.
I love Jasmine Warga in general.
Yeah.
I want to read her newest one.
It's on the list.
It's on the list. Sure is.
Anyway.
Well, I thought this was a fantastic book. And it's funny because I was not highly anticipating this one.
Oh, really?
Okay, I'll read it. Yeah, I think because I thought it was going to be more spacey, alien-y as well, and I just wasn't digging it. Even though I've loved sci-fi. I've loved lots of sci-fi. But I don't know, for some reason, I didn't know enough about what it was about. But maybe that's a good thing, because I went in kind of with lowish expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But not really understanding what it was going to be about. So it was just, I was along for the ride, and I ended up loving it.
It was very good.
Yeah.
For sure.
So there you have it.
This was our last book club pick for this year.
For the year.
So this will be it until March.
Oh my word. Can you imagine, Stephanie? She wondered if it was going to end with finding out that Simon really had died in the school shooting and he was a ghost or something. Oh my word. That would have been horrible. That would have been horrible.
That would have been a twist.
Would have been
not have been a middle grade book. That would probably have been an adult book.
Yeah.
Shelved in the horror section.
Yeah, for Jen, which is it's a decent rating.
Yeah.
I will enjoy. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
there have been spoilers. You have been spoiled.
You have been spoiled. But this is the kind of book that
it's okay. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like this is the kind of book too where from like 15% in, you know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot in there that was not expected.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. The specific scene of the school shooting, I'm glad it didn't go into a ton of detail, but it went into enough that it was
rough.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was hard to read.
Yeah.
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 A 3 for me is like 4. Is I loved it. So 3.5. There you go.
3 is it she liked it. 4 is she loved it. 3.5.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Fun. All right.
Oh yeah, Teresa will be praying.
Oh yeah.
successful surgery. So yeah, the next time you will hear from us will be as we share about middle grade March.
In March.
There will be a few months off.
If you guys have, I know I'm going to say this, and maybe you guys disagree, but if you guys have ideas for a book pick for middle grade March, let us know, because we're going to be starting to chat about that probably soon. So no promises that we'll choose it, but you can throw the book in the.
I would love to hear if you guys have ideas.
Yeah.
I know Amanda and I were talking about it a little bit before we got started tonight, and I had one.
Did you have some ideas? Oh, I can't wait to hear.
First, but yeah, because we know we need to do a little bit more, making sure that it's accessible worldwide, and potentially like as audio, as an ebook, as like something that you can get from your libraries, like not so far under the radar that nobody will have access to it. So we've learned a few things.
Okay, now I can't even remember what was our pick this past year.
Mona Lisa.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Or if you have a preference for a genre, that's helpful to know too. Because we've done a little bit of
everything. We're kind of coming back around.
Yeah. My favorite time, Jen. I love it. I love this. This discussion helped me realize how much I
am. Yeah.
It's always good when you can talk about it with other people.
Are like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Ooh, The Girl in the Lake. I'm not familiar with that one, Teresa. A good spooky one. But oh, excuse me. All right. Well, could go with a classic. Oh, we have not done.
Oh, that's true. We have we ever done a classic? I don't think
we've had classic as a prompt. Ooh. The Story That Cannot Be Told. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either. I'm looking it up.
Same. By, I guess, Joseph Kramer. Oh, that sounds cool. Meta, that sounds something you would like.
Oh, that's pretty good ratings.
But not very many. Only 223. When did that come out?
2019.
Oh. Why does it only have 200 ratings?
You know what? A lot of middle grade books on Amazon only have, unless they're super, super, super popular.
Yeah.
Goodreads has 1,000 ratings.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh, yeah, I see. 223 reviews. I was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah.
Wait, I think I might have this book.
Thank you. Krista, getting Amanda more than one book would be fun too. Maybe similar topics to Ooh. Can we suggest something to not pick? Yeah. I mean,
go for it.
Always a pleasure. And y'all with friends in the chat, already looking forward to middle grade March. Kramer. Yeah, I found it.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I read In the Country of Queens by Carrie Best. I haven't heard of that one either. Jen, I'm really curious about what book you don't want us to pick.
Yeah, please tell us what book not to choose.
Carrie Best.
In the Country. I'm looking through my shelves, and I don't think I have that book.
I've seen the cover of that the one
In the Country of Queens.
No.
Oh, of the
Story That Cannot Be Told.
Yeah.
I've seen the cover of that one.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well,
I think that's
it. It's an author. We've already done a Kelly Barnhill book, so we wouldn't pick another one by the same author, probably.
Yeah, Jen, I'm not a Kelly Barnhill fan either.
Krista and I are, though.
But I've only read The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I've not read anything else by her, so I don't know.
Oh, really? You didn't read The Ogress and the Orphan?
You read Ogress and the
Yes,
Orphan?
I did read
Yeah.
The Ogress and the Orphan. That's right. So we have done 2 of her books. Because that
Wait,
was
we didn't choose Ogress. We did Ogress and the
one
Orphan.
of our every other month ones. It wasn't the
Oh yeah, it was, but not for our middle grade March pick.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was the ones from last year. I loved that. I liked both of them. Are those the 2 that you've read? I love her. The Girl Who Sang is a graphic novel, a Holocaust memoir of hope and survival.
Ooh.
Interesting.
All right.
Cool. All right, friends. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us today and throughout the year. And if anybody's watching later, thank you for popping in later. Yeah. And stay tuned in February for March announcements. And that's going to be it for us today. Happy reading. And if you do, in between now and then, read a fantastic middle grade, please share with us. We would love to hear.
Yeah. Tag us on Instagram.
Tag us. All the things. All right. Bye, everyone.